Hi guys. I wanted to say something about Jinky 34 and the transit that we are in right now. I have the 34 twice, and I was listening to an audio about the 34th gate and being in the sacral center in the body graph, which is, the sacral is life force, is sexuality. They say that it's the only gate in the sacral center that isn't sexual. It's more like a raw, life force energy, I guess. It goes up to the G center with the 10th gate, and it goes into the splenic center uh, with the 57, and then up to the throat with the 20. So it's part of the integration circuitry that has a lot to do with our evolution and kind of testing things. The individual just doing things, and it's like the evolution comes from that, because when we use our awareness in the now, when we use our power, when we use our intuition, when we kind of test our behavior, that's when evolution can take place. So what happens with the 34 and with these integration gates is that we can kind of seem very busy from the outside. We're not available. That's kind of the things that has to do with that sacral 34. It's like, I'm available or not. And when I'm not available, I'm not sexually available either. And how it's also very connected to the body. So when we speak about it in the Jinky spectrum, it goes from force to strength to majesty. And I like how, with that life force that is so powerful, that can create life, it's that force that is the really like primal force. If we use that, in things that are not really leading anywhere, like taking a square pig and like forcing it into a round hole, right? It's like, it doesn't really lead anywhere. It doesn't lead to evolution. It just leads to a life that is lived with force, like forcing things to go through instead of actually. So it's kind of this thing about like being hard on the outside and maybe hard on the inside too, but it's like hard on the outside and forcing things to happen, and not really listening. It's the programming partner of Jinky 43, which has deafness in the shadow frequency. So deafness and force is like being not listening to outside influence. It can be very hard for parents that have children with a 34 or the 43. It's like you can't, especially even if it's even worse if there is if you have the channel of struggle, the 2838, together with that, which is also like individual circuitry. Then you can have a child that is just like struggling and forcing, and you can't do anything. It's not going to hear you. It's here to be able to do it until it realizes that that's not the best way to go about things. So the higher frequency and the strength is a lot about inner strength. And I see a lot of like, the kind of analogy between the pathway that you have between the radiance and the purpose. So the pathway of core stability, because the core stability is not a hard kind of forcing stability. It's much more about an inner strength, which is that kind of very similar inner strength that we could speak about in the 34. It's like from forcing things on the outside, we go in and it's a softer strength. It's like a feminine, in a way, inner strength, that kind of just a knowing more than anything else, that keeps us in the center. And whatever happens on the outside, it's still there, and it doesn't need to be busy. That's the difference between action and being. It's like it's a strength that comes from our being and not from our doing. So that's like a very, very powerful shift, which is also somehow connected to this world where doing has been put on a pedestal and being has in a way been forgotten. So it's like recreating more of a balance between the feminine and masculine, between the being and doing, and actually saying that the real strength comes from the inside, and it's more malleable strength that actually is not fixed. And when we tune into that strength, and when we are in our inner authority and inner feeling about things, then that's from there that majesty comes. Because majesty, it's kind of, when we read about the 34th gene key, it has to do with the Olympics and the people that were using their bodies in ways that were incredible, and that could do things that nobody else could do with their bodies. So there is this thing in the aesthetic level that it's not. I think I was posting this yesterday. So the genius, it doesn't express itself through words or intellect. It's really through movement and the body, because we have this sacral force, and when it's channeled in a way that is not just busy with whatever, when it's channeled in through your genius, it expresses that genius through movement and through the body, through that sacral force, through that creativity that you have in the center, and that's so beautiful. um, and and that's really also often when you have, like, if you're a parent to a child like this, or if your partner has a 34, you can kind of see exactly how it changes from going from, that kind of pushing that square peg in a round hole, and then suddenly something shifts, and you can't really see what it is, but it is that shift from the outer forcing and being hard to the inner strength and the inner knowing, and then what comes out of it is just so different. And it always kind of happens in the doing, like in the now of it, because it is connected to that intuition in the splenic center, and to that expression in the throat center, in the 20, and then the 10 in your behavior, that just shifts from being, just busy and kind of self-obsessed in a way, to being just natural and flowing, and completely just right in every moment by moment. So that's my contemplation around the transit that we are in right now. So please comment and let me know if you recognize it.